It's 6 a.m. You've flown from Istanbul. You have a diplomatic passport. You have a FIFA accreditation badge. You have a valid visa. You are one of 52 referees selected from every country on earth for the biggest sporting event in history. You step off the plane in Miami and they take you into a room and they don't ask you about football, they ask you about Al Shabaab for 11 hours. 11 hours while the World Cup counts down, while the other officials check into their hotel, while FIFA gives press conferences, while the world starts watching. You are in a room, being asked about a terrorist organization you have nothing to do with, and then they put you on a plane home. That man is Omar Artan, 34 years old, born in Mogadishu, Africa's referee of the year, the first Somali ever selected for a World Cup. And what happened next, not just to him, but because of him, reveals something about the state of football's power structure that no press release, no governance report, no fan poll has ever captured this clearly. To understand why this story matters, you need to understand who Omar Artan actually is, because the facts of his career are what make everything that followed so significant. Born in 1992 in Mogadishu, Somalia, a city not exactly associated with world stage football, Arton spent 16 years climbing every rung of the refereeing ladder. He has been on the FIFA international list since 2018. He took charge of AFCON matches. He officiated the CAF Champions League final between Pyramids FC and Mamelodi Sundowns in Cairo, becoming the first Somali referee ever to oversee a continental final. He was named CAF Men's Referee of the Year 2025, and then FIFA selected him from the entire global pool as one of only 52 officials for the 2026 World Cup, making him the sole sub Saharan African center referee on that list. This is not a man who accidentally ended up on the World Cup list. He earned every single step. So when Omar Artan landed at Miami Airport on a Saturday, he carried everything required: a diplomatic passport, a valid visa, and full FIFA accreditation. What followed was not a brief secondary screening. After landing in Miami, where the referee's training base is located, he was detained and questioned for 11 hours before being sent back home. The questioning, by his own account, focused heavily on Al Shabaab, the Somali militant group. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection stated he was determined to be inadmissible due to vetting concerns and was denied entry. An administration official told CBS News that Artan was denied entry based on derogatory information that included association with suspected terrorist groups. Andrew Giuliani, head of the White House World Cup Task Force, stated publicly anyone who is communicating with bad actors that plan harm against the United States of America are not going to be admitted entrants. Somalia is on a U.S. list of 39 countries subject to travel restrictions. For border agents, that was sufficient. Then came a holding cell, then a flight back to Istanbul. FIFA's own selected official, the man whose name was on their officiating roster, the man they put in their press releases about the most inclusive World Cup in history. On a plane home, the world waited to see how FIFA would respond. What they got was a 66-minute press conference. FIFA's official statement read: FIFA is not involved in host country immigration processes, including visa adjudications, and has been informed by authorities that Mr. Arton's status will not be changed at present. Gianni Infantino addressed the situation directly. He said, "It is unfortunate what happened to the referee from Somalia. Again, we don't control everything. We try, we will discuss, we will speak, we will see. Sometimes it's good to chill, relax. We work on everything. We try to solve everything." When pushed further by reporters, Infantino added, "We are not the kings of the world who can rule over governments and police forces. We are a sports organization. This is a 66-minute press conference. Infantino had time, he had reporters, he had a microphone, and the sentence that traveled around the world was chill and relax. FIFA faced direct allegations that it had failed to fight for one of its own and had succumbed to the influence of the country's administration under President Donald Trump. Despite everything, including Iran's training base being relocated to Tijuana and the Artan situation, Infantino insisted he does not regret choosing the United States as host country. The Artan case was not an isolated incident. That is the critical fact buried under the noise of a single story. 15 Iranian officials were denied entry to the United States, according to Iranian state media. The official Iraqi team photographer was also denied entry. An Iraqi player, Ayman Hussein, and other team members reported being subjected to intensive and sometimes invasive searches at the border. Iran accused FIFA of revoking its entire supporter ticket allocation days before their first match, an allegation that has not been formally denied. A Swiss travel authorization belonging to Brial Envelo was flagged. Formal legal complaints were filed by supporter organizations across Europe. 8 UEFA delegates walked out of a FIFA council meeting. Attorneys general in California, New Jersey, New York, and Texas opened cases over World Cup ticket prices. The US government had given assurances to FIFA years in advance that eligible athletes, officials, and fans from all countries around the world would be able to attend. Those assurances were not honored. The pattern is not random. It is a governing body that promoted this tournament as the most inclusive in history, and then watched one by one as that word inclusive was tested and failed, not once. Repeatedly, meanwhile, Omar Artan landed back in Mogadishu. What happened at the airport was not what anyone expected. Government officials greeted him with flowers. Fans draped him in the sky blue Somali flag. In the capital, thousands packed into a stadium, not for a football match, but to celebrate the referee. Artan was hoisted onto shoulders to the cheers of the crowd, a symbol of national pride in a country that was not even competing in the World Cup. Artan told local media, "What happened has happened and it was fate. I will attend the next World Cup. We should strive for our country and defend it. We should never be disappointed." Somalia wasn't in the tournament, but from those scenes in the stadium in Mogadishu, you wouldn't know it. Because what Omar Artan represented and what was taken from him mattered more to those people than any scoreline. Now, here is where the story changes direction entirely. The same day FIFA's president told the world to chill and relax, something else happened. In Salzburg, Austria, UEFA announced, following discussions with its sister confederation, Confédération Africaine de Football, CAF, UEFA has today appointed Somali referee Omar Artan to officiate the 2026 UEFA Super Cup, which will take place on the 12th of August in Salzburg between UEFA Champions League winners Paris Saint-Germain and UEFA Europa League winners Aston Villa. Omar Artan will be the first African referee to officiate a major UEFA final. The appointment is part of a memorandum of understanding between UEFA and CAF, which seeks to strengthen refereeing cooperation between Europe and Africa. UEFA President Alexander Cheferin stated, "Omar Artan is an excellent young but already experienced referee who has proven himself at the highest competition level of the CAF." He added, "Football is made to connect people." And then this, UEFA wants to show its respect to Omar and his outstanding officiating skills, which had earned him such a prestigious nomination. That last phrase, which had earned him such a prestigious nomination, is not diplomatic language. It is a direct reference to the World Cup selection that was taken from him. UEFA is stating publicly that the judgment of the people who selected him was correct, that the vetting concerns at Miami Airport were not football concerns. And they are prepared to say so, not through a statement, but through an appointment. The contrast in speed alone says everything. FIFA spent days issuing carefully worded statements that resolved nothing. UEFA moved within hours and gave Artan the biggest available stage on the European calendar. PSG versus Aston Villa, Champions League winners against Europa League winners. The opening match of the European season. August 12th, Salzburg. This is not a consolation prize. This is one of European football's most prestigious standalone fixtures, and Omar Artan will be at the center of it. The institutional comparison is impossible to ignore. FIFA runs the World Cup. It has the commercial scale, the prize money, the global platform. But neither FIFA nor UEFA has jurisdiction over Miami Airport. The difference between them was not authority, it was will. UEFA didn't have to do this, they chose to. That distinction matters enormously. The MOU between UEFA and CAF means this appointment is not a one time gesture either. It is part of a structural commitment to refereeing cooperation between the two confederations. Omar Artan benefits from that framework, but so does every African referee who follows him. CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe responded publicly. Omar Artan has made Somalia and the entire people of the African continent extremely proud. His receipt of the CAF Men's Referee of the Year Award 2025 and his appointment as a referee of the FIFA World Cup 2026 are a recognition of his world class refereeing ability and the international respect that he enjoys. Motsepe personally thanked my friend Alexander Shefrin for enabling Omar Artan to officiate the UEFA Super Cup 2026 match. He concluded, "This is a great honor for Omar Artan and for African referees, and is also an excellent example of football bringing together and uniting people from Africa and Europe and worldwide." The president of African football thanking the president of European football by name personally in public. That is not a routine courtesy. That is a measure of what this gesture meant to an entire continent. The situation surrounding Omar Artan did not exist in isolation. It arrived in the middle of a tournament already under institutional pressure from multiple directions. Reports emerged of 20 federation heads in discussions about a boycott. 8 UEFA delegates walked out of a FIFA council meeting, a visible public act of institutional protest. Formal legal complaints from supporter organizations in Europe were filed through official channels. Iran's ticket allocation was allegedly revoked days before their first match, with 14 Iranian officials denied visas. The attorneys general of California, New Jersey, New York, and Texas opened legal cases over ticket pricing structures. These are not coordinated. They are separate institutions in different countries through different processes, arriving at the same conclusion that the management of this World Cup has not reflected the values it claimed, and that football's institutions carry an obligation to respond through whatever tools they have available. On June 12th, 2026, the day after the World Cup opened, two things happened simultaneously. FIFA's president told the world to chill and relax, and UEFA's president announced that a 34-year-old referee from Mogadishu who had spent 11 hours in a room at Miami Airport, who flew home without his dream, who was carried on shoulders through a stadium because his country needed someone to celebrate, would become the first African referee ever to lead a major UEFA final. In August, in Salzburg, Omar Artan will walk onto that pitch for PSG versus Aston Villa. He won't have gotten there the way anyone planned. He'll have gotten there through a holding cell and a flight home, and thousands of people who packed the stadium just to tell him he still mattered, and a phone call from the president of European football. FIFA said chill. UEFA said here's the final. History will decide which of those was the right answer, but football already knows.